Halo, one of the most popular and recognizable video game series to date, spanning over 11 games, grossing almost $3.4 billion combined, and is the reason for Microsoft's success in the video game industry. Along with Martin O'Donnell's revolutionary soundtrack, Halo shows how important music is in video games, and it all started with Halo Combat Evolved. Halo Combat Evolved was the original Xbox's launch title, and was met with such critical and commercial success, it spawned a multi-billion-dollar franchise, and is what cemented Microsoft as a strong competitor in the video game industry. And it's met with such praise for good reason. Halo revolutionized the FPS genre and video game soundtracks as a whole. Halo's soundtrack is simply timeless. It has a well-defined identity and is just as important as the game's story, visuals, and gameplay. There's a good reason why Halo's original soundtrack is still the best-selling video game soundtrack of all time, and that's all thanks to Martin O'Donnell. Martin is seen as a legend in the video game soundtrack community. His work on Halo is iconic and memorable. The large collection of pieces in the soundtrack are wide and varied, each invoking a specific mood and emotion. Halo has a track for everything it wants you to feel. It's got the kick-ass combat music, sad, emotional music, the grand scale orchestral music to match the sheer scale and ambition of the game. And of course, what can be considered as one of the most iconic tracks in video game history. All the great and high quality tracks added something new to the video game genre. For one of the first times, a game has had an amazing score, on par with some of the greatest movie soundtracks. The music added so much to Halo. It's what allowed the game to reach its epic heights it was trying to achieve, and proved how important music was in video games. Martin wasn't just an influence because of his great compositions, but also the way he used soundtracks throughout the games. He wasn't only in charge of composing the music, he was able to control the way music is played throughout the Halo games. The way he creates his music is very unique. Martin would often spend a lot of time working with every other team that was working on the game. He would try to form good relationships and watched how they worked and what they were really trying to make. Doing this, he was able to really know what the team was trying to create, and he wrote the music to match the team's creativity and ambition. This made the music more than just a part of the game, it helped form what the game is. Martin also managed to influence how game soundtracks are developed by using special audio techniques. He would attach a song to a specific mood or emotion the game was trying to convey, and he was not afraid to repeat the songs. This made the player become attached to the songs and feel the emotions the games were trying to convey. He also created his own technique, which was extremely innovative. Martin would sort of chop up chunks of his tracks and throw them together at different parts, which would tie into the events that happened in the game. This allowed the music to perfectly match the mood of an environment or scene and evolve alongside the events of the game.
The important thing about interactive music is that it feels like it's scoring what you're doing. I want it to sort of sneak in. I can play with all these different pieces of music, combining them so they're overlapping and layering, and this will all eventually correspond to something significant that's happening in the game. So I have lots of different kinds of pieces of music. I have pieces that I call glue that are just kind of ambient, smushy sounding pieces like this. And then if I hit play on this next piece, it would correspond to a stinger, a little shaker sound. Then we can trigger a percussive piece. And then in the percussive piece, I can say, play an alt version, which means it's going to start to get a little bit more active. I'm going to hit stop, and we'll come to a nice natural out. And what's nice about all these things is every time I hit start or stop or alt or any of that stuff, it corresponds to something that could be happening in the game. If we have a significant moment and I say, so I just brought in the low strings, a trigger will happen, and then at some natural point in the music will do its transition or its ending or whatever it is, and I try to keep it as natural as I can.
This really changed the way video game tracks were played during gameplay of games, and was an extremely influential technique. Martin O'Donnell is really amazing. Not only his composition, but also the way he uses them really shows how a video game can be heightened by its music. How he designed his tracks for a specific mood that is in line with what the rest of the team was going for, his innovative approach to how the music plays throughout the games. Martin's work really helped revolutionize video game soundtracks, how they're used and how they're made. He proved that video games can really be something more, and how a great soundtrack can add so much to a game. His music created a whole new era of cinematic game music whose influence is still felt today.